All right, we are live and welcome back to the Pennsylvania and Berwind, where we are watching, just pulling into Grafton, the two new S2 Alco S2s that I've added to the route. And one of those is in the Penn Central scheme. You see that in the rear there. And the front one, obviously, is in the Pennsylvania and Berwind scheme. Now, up until now, I've had several Pennsylvania and Berwind units on the route, but using my own design for the livery. This one is a little bit more of a combination of the original approach medium design, but with a little bit of hazard striping on the front. So I thought it'd be good to have a little variety, and maybe this represents kind of like an older paint scheme, older livery for the Pennsylvania and Berwind, and the more BAR scheme that represents more of a 1980s look. So that's what I'm going for. But I do like to have more variety on the route. And of course, we have been saying that we need to populate the route with more locomotives and more train cars in general. Need to be able to service the industries with the train cars that are on the map for the most part. Not that we won't be entering and leaving the map with different cars, but just want to make sure that there's plenty of action on the route and the yards are not empty looking. That's not good either. So what we have here is a train of tank cars which are heading for the new today task. Now that it is 8:30 in the morning on the second day of operations, we have a new set of today tasks. Now for the Pennsylvania and Berwind, we didn't finish one of the two today's tasks from yesterday, so that's still on the map. And then this tank car string, that is for the sodium hydroxide going to the refinery. Total coincidence, new refinery that got picked by the randomizer for a task to be performed today. Pick up some sodium hydroxide, I believe. And then we have some box cars in the tail end of the train, not really going anywhere, I don't think, at this point. So let's pop on over to the other side of the map because, okay, who do we have here? Amy, I think? Yes, Amy. Now, Amy also has to go to Allegheny. We have a lot of people going to Allegheny today. So I'm going to send her to East Yard, Track 5 West. Let's do Track 6 West. Now, Amy has a load of potash and also a string of empties. Potash is going to the fertilizer plant. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on to the DBEV area of the map, which is kind of nice. Now, where we ended up last time was in the PBS coal area. And then we were also working on the Reading. One of the things I do want to get going is we have our... This train is going to Babcock Mine. Navigate to... It's been sitting here for quite some time. Probably should have looked at what the... Babcock Mine, Track 1. And I don't know, but I think this will go forward. Yeah, and let's tag these cars. Because why not? I do think that the car tagger got emptied out again. Very frustrating. I have made a lot of changes here and there, but didn't think that the car tagger would empty out for just minor adjustments to the route. And then, right next door, here we have, speaking of empty yards, we're going to empty this yard out completely here. We have our RS1s, which are pulling way too much weight for what they can handle. Yes. So what we need to do here is we need to just drop off the caboose. Then we're going to pull forward, put these cars on the yard track. Now, I have been playing around with adding some new engine specs and some new horns to some of the locomotives that I've created. I hadn't been very diligent about doing that up until now, but I need to do better. I will do better. And I think some of them I placed down on the map without having updated it. And then after updating the asset, because the asset is already placed down, it doesn't actually replace the horn. So I might have to look into that. Alcinor says, "Good afternoon, sir." Thank you. Good afternoon to you. Another beautiful day here. I'm in a good mood. Hoping to make some rapid progress on the route. Rapid, but with these RS1s, rapid is relatively speaking, I guess. Get these cylindrical hoppers into the yard. Get some nice, good spacing so that there's clearance. That should be good enough, I would say. Now, do we have the cabooses far enough back that I could just go on the main line here? Or main line, not main line, but the next track. Alcinor says it's 8:30 a.m. here. Yeah, it takes a while for the acceleration to kick in. That is for sure. Now let's see where we have. We got 1,474. So now we have fewer tonnage than horsepower, which is good. We want horsepower to always be higher than tonnage in tow, but if we're going up a grade, of course, we have to add more. But I don't think there's really that much of a grade between here and Juniata. The switch thrown against us, I guess, not too far in front. So I might as well just deal with that. Don't think it would have been a problem. I do need to check to make sure that the derail prevention rule is actually still active. Somewhat suspicious about whether it's active right now or not. I think the thing to do is, instead of doing edit session, I should always do drive session when I enter the game. Then any rules that are active on the map continue to be active, whereas I think if I put edit session, it might sort of zero them out, assume that I'm not really playing the session then. Now, I did look into why cars are driving down the center of this road here, and believe it or not, I couldn't quite figure that out. It seemed like there was just the road itself, the road asset itself, so I don't know why people are driving in the center there. Alcinor says, "You have made me realize how much custom assets I need to figure out how to make on the INE railroad." Well, you know, it's up to you. And reskinning is the easiest, obviously. Reskinning obviously requires some compromises in terms of quality, and even if it's not a change in the mesh, some changes in the mesh can be handled by alphaing out textures, but a lot of times that's rather tedious, and yeah, I'm going to assume that a lot of people don't bother. But yeah, so even when you're just doing the reskinning without adding any changes to the mesh, there can be some issues depending on how the file is laid out. And then, of course, a lot of files can't be reskinned. They can't be modified in any way, payware or terms of the license and so forth. But I see a fair number of people on the Discord who just do reskins, and they have a lot of good content. Yep, with this very weak engine spec, we do have a lot of waiting around with the train. But I didn't want the engine spec of the RS1 and the S2 to be too overpowered. Because that's not fun either, right? So bulldozer in the background. And plenty of seagulls. Oh, I see there's actually a backhoe digging in the background there. Why don't I tag these while we're here? Juniata distribution. I think I managed to tag the last car or something. Juniata distribution. Well, it could be because I had so many cars here that I didn't bother to tag them all. I don't know. There is no need to tag all of them, just give an indication. I think that's good. Yeah, there's another vehicle driving the center of the road. Refinery in the background there. Yeah, the traffic is also moving quite slowly. I mean, we're doing 18. And we're almost keeping up with that box van in the background there. We also slow down very slowly. But 5 is not too bad. Okay, so let's see if we can go to Juniata. Now, of course, there is a train coming from Juniata right now, so I have my questions. That should be on the opposite side of the route. Not Michael's shredding service. Juniata wholesale? Juniata distribution. And we are off. This is Tyler with the RS1 Conrail X Penn Central. So yeah, let's do that. So that is actually controlled. And the next signal is restricting. In case you're hearing a dog there, I have limited the number of dogs down to just one for that neighborhood. I think there were about 4 originally. Herr Schmidt's motto for the I&E is there's no substitute for horsepower, which is why they still have steam power locos on the route, Alcinor says. Yeah, I mean, diesels have incredible horsepower. I mean, that's the main reason why, one of the main reasons why they replace steam so quickly is that a much smaller diesel locomotive has as much or more horsepower than. Now, the advocates for steam would say tractive effort is very important on a railroad, and that's true. And steam engines, generally speaking, because of the heavier weight, would have higher tractive effort, I believe. That's what I've heard. And the initial diesels, of course, were just fairly low horsepower, but you know, they ramped up so quickly. And of course, having consist was much easier and cheaper. Okay, hopefully this tactic will succeed in getting these two trains to pass each other without a problem. Now, where we left off before, let's just check to make sure we know what's in these. Yeah, okay. Very fast coupling there. I think that this industry can easily handle 2 boxcars. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop these 2 boxcars, and of course we only have 2 left. So it should easily this session be able to handle this industry. And as usual, we'll be able to. Oh, we have actually 4 boxcars left. Okay, that's a little bit of a wrinkle. I don't know whether we'll be able to finish it, because I want to finish all the boxcars and the coal this session. Alcinor says true, but the starting date for the route is 7th July 1952, and the route is the route's 100th anniversary. Well, you know, the early 50s, that would have been when diesel was already well on the scene, and railroads were not ordering any new diesels, and I mean, they would still have not ordering any new steam locos. They would, of course, still have some steam, but typically by the mid-50s, it would be retired, scrapped. Now that said, that's not to say, it's bad to have a transition era railroad. That's the whole point of model railroading, is you get to have that freedom. So in that case, I guess it would just be that the steam power was left over. And we are just taking this train back to the yard. Some empties. Having finished offloading the lumber. And I think really there was, for these very short tracks like this, probably the spreadsheet needs a little adjustment to not deliver like 15 cars to them. All right, getting our grade crossings done here. So everything's looking good. Now, I didn't see whether that boxcar started unloading. Yeah, it looks like both of them are underway. So I think we can consider whether to take this locomotive back to, whoa. I guess they would have to go to Laurel as well because of all the trains coming in that direction. So why don't we just take to Old Town Junction? That's the last grade crossing, so just pause it. Drive to Clearly I need to do some more memorizing here. Old Town Junction, 800. Okay, that's good. And I can see that Richard is getting closer. Maybe I'll just go check on Richard to make sure that Richard is not... got the bell ringing. Oops. Elsinore says, Norfolk and Western used steam until 1965. Diesel has taken over local service and yard switching, but mainline infrastructure is still set up for steam. Okay. Okay. Let's look down. Where do we have to go next? Okay, so looking at my list, I had 6 locomotives to work on, and I believe Blue GP9s is the only one of the 6 that I have not gone and looked at. So here we are at the refinery. Looks like we have indeed loaded up all of these cars. That is very nice. So we've got the fuel oil well underway. Get these right underneath those little pumps. Don't want anybody to strain their back. Yeah, that should be good. Now, all of these tank cars will be going to the fuel facility in Grafton. There are a lot of industries where the randomizer will be getting cars from on the map or sending cars off the map, but a lot of the stuff with the refinery will not be set up that way. Instead, the refinery will be setting up stuff to kind of like always go to this one distribution facility in Grafton. So navigating through this complex maze of pipes and tanks at the new refinery. What we need to do is get this train back on the DBEV mainline, if there is such a thing as a mainline for the DBEV, and then back these cars down to the Allegheny Fertilizer. Richard is stuck. Yeah, that was sort of what I was waiting on, or anticipating, I should say. Okay, so consolidating these boxcars. This should be good. Yeah, it's probably a mile back down the track to get to Allegheny Fertilizer, so as I already said, I think we can just back up there. It's essentially still in the same town. Yep. Nope. Allegheny Fertilizer. Let's do these at Allegheny Fertilizer as well. Yeah, when it comes to the Cartagger, I think it's good to take a gradualist approach. Fill it in as you go along. Guess we could go a little faster. We've got plenty of space. It's like some dirt or maybe potatoes. I'm not sure. All right, let's program this to go to Allegheny Fertilizer so that we can navigate to 416. Allegheny Fertilizer outbound, yes. Should work. And now we need to go to Richard. Richard. Yeah, I really do not see why Richard is stuck. Yeah, it's just waiting on the... Yeah, that is a really weird one. There's only 2 switches to navigate through. Probably... Is it possible Richard thought this is the faster one and my switching the switch was enough to persuade him to go the other way? Seems strange. But the point is that Richard is going. Alciner says, another thing I need to learn is CarTagger. Yeah, well, CarTagger is very optional. I mean, I'd say the majority of people do not play with CarTagger. The majority of people do not edit assets or reskin files, probably. But in the whole spectrum of, let's just say, the method that I'm illustrating on these playthroughs, I'd say CarTagger is among the more specialized and particular. And I am still mastering it. Okay, that's well in hand. And Tyler is still a ways away, so yeah, we're just gonna let them hang. And let's come back to PBS coal. It is possible, yes, it is possible, and indeed it is the truth that finished the unloading of those cars. So the very next step has got to be to switch them out. Switch out these empties so we can make space here. It is a pretty little town, especially in the daytime. Felt that really it was too dark, and the game in general has felt very dark to me. I think I'm just using the default settings that Approach Medium had when I downloaded the route. So I don't think there should be any problem with the environment settings, but maybe my computer and my OBS are recording a little bit too dim. It looks all right on Twitch, what I'm seeing on my screen. And of course I did test on OBS as well, but yeah. Alciner says, and I have to go run an errand, I'll leave your tab for the view count. Have a great day and thanks for the stream. Yeah, well, I'm not going for any view count. And here we are at the switch, so just reverse that. I should say normalize it. Man, this one triggers on this signal is extremely aggressive in my opinion. Mill Creek. Yeah, there are a lot of people hanging out in Mill Creek. There are some very primitive assets too. We're not going to be helping them anytime soon. It might be interesting if there were some interest in having a passenger train, but it got so much to do already that I feel like that might be a bridge too far. Yeah, both these triggers are quite aggressive. Yeah, see, this one is... Huh. You would think that this one would only be for these two tracks in the center here? I don't know. Maybe the trigger is beyond the switch, so it doesn't realize what track I'm on. Didn't do the horn there. Just calculating my next moves on this ever more complicated game playthrough. Okay, that should be good. Let's just back up a little bit more, just a smidge. Okay, Jane, we're ready to complete this task. And I know I checked 1,000 times. This train is definitely going to fit on this track. It's barely. Barely. And yes, we definitely do now have enough covered hoppers on the route, but I felt like it's maybe better to have more cars on the route, so that's why I'm not sort of planning to take these on the route to someplace else. I'm going to leave them in inventory, so to speak. Philippe is just sitting here waiting to do whatever's next, and I think it'd be better to position Philippe in Allegheny. So East Yard, track 4 west. Now, I was assuming that we would see a train here. Ah, yes, Adair. Adair just has not reached there yet. But Adair's certainly moving quickly. D-Bev is looking nice in the daylight. I'm going to have to check out and see where exactly is the loading for this fertilizer. I like the way that buried track looks in this spot. Some places, because of raising the terrain and changing the terrain's appearance, those supposedly abandoned tracks are supposed to be abandoned tracks. They don't look very nice. But then in some parts, they actually look still pretty good. And I'm not sure if it's something where I need to come back and do a little bit more retouching. I'm going to say probably. Seems reasonable. we are almost there. I see that it is it? Ah, yes, it's this little platform, I guess. So I was just curious to see where he stops. No way we'll get through this task today. And if he just slows down crazy amount, then we'll just take over manual control, but that's okay. That looks pretty good. I think I'm going to just touch it a little bit further back. I'm going to make sure we at least get 2. Although I think 3 is also a possibility, barely. And let's go back. We're back to Mill Creek. Still these cars are not unloaded. Moving too quickly. Well, let's check up on our local here. Have we in fact arrived at Juniata? We have. Oh no, we've arrived at Allegheny. So actually, we can just stop this train, and we can stop the bell. Because these cars need to pick up that sodium hydroxide, right. So I think doing a run around here would be the smart thing to do, actually. Now, I wonder if I programmed this train to if I programmed the train to run around, I wonder how far I would get, because there's a train in the most obvious runaround track. Would it opt for another track over? Or would it just say that it was blocked? Everything else looks good. I did try adding a little bit more smoke to these S2s compared to the other Alcos that I have on the route. You can barely tell there's any more added. There may be some way to improve the smoke physics so that at higher speed the velocity of these smoke particles would increase so that they wouldn't just be horizontal at higher speeds. It's one of the reasons why I didn't make it more intense. Speeding very slightly. For a second there, I thought the cab was empty, but no. She is in there. Tram. Yep, tram. Aha. That's what we like to see. 2 trains in motion. I believe that SW 1500 or no, SW 1200, that should be able to drop off those cars it's hauling right now and bring some of those covered hoppers over on that side of the yard over to Highland, which is something that we started at the very beginning of the playthrough was, first of all, filling some of those covered hoppers for Highland. But yeah, Highland will be consuming some of the grains from the route, as is logical. Started slowing ourselves down here. Okay, we're going to program navigate to 410. No, I'm wrong. Allegheny Fuel 2. Sodium hydroxide. Here we are. I was not wrong. 410. Now we should be able to check out the Mill Creek. And once this train is in position, this task will be done. Well, obviously once the cars are unloaded, but that's to be assumed. So let's just decouple here. And then I think to just jump back all the way back here, and then we should be able to get to this coal train. Now I did modify the coal track here to be able to load these coal cars while moving, so let's hope that that is functioning. And then that would be another task which we would say has been completed this session. Yeah, it definitely looks better in broad daylight, that's for sure. It's been quite a while since the last update. I think the Service Pack 5 came out late last year. So it's been over a year, and there were a number of bugs that were introduced into that service pack. I think the company is still working on fixing that, which is kind of disappointing, because there's a number of other things I think all of us are looking forward to, number one of which is the improved lighting. In the little vote that was held, N3V said it was very clear that improved lighting and improved environment settings had reached the top, as improved skybox. All of that is a fan priority. Yeah, these GP9s, they are so responsive compared to the Alcos. Little abandoned coal tipple here. Got a lot of bells going off right now. And yes, there are 2 Conrail cabooses, I am aware. And now we shall see whether the loading while moving function is working. Based on where this looks like, it seems like that could be where it would start loading. Yes, indeed. Just make sure that this switch is good, that switch is good, that switch is good, that switch is good. Yeah, we've got plenty of space. Yeah, that's reasonable. I think it's reasonable not to have every single industry require it to be worked. I don't want to do any of the ones where it just automatically loads the entire train. That's not what I want, but to have a few which are a little bit more manageable like this is better. And realistic. A lot of my methods are evolved from microchips methods, and microchip does not generally show And I believe he actually deletes all the industry queues so that all the industries are basically just blank. But I do appreciate the loading of goods for it to be both visible and for it to actually take time. That is, to me, interesting. Do make a lot of, obviously, compromises in terms of prototypical operation, but this is one where I feel like I like the way that this is set up now. Now, all this coal will be heading back to Grafton. And this is another one of those self-contained industry chains, which will be taking place on the route. I believe that the mine, when the mines ask for loads to be picked up, then those loads will be picked up and sent on the route to Grafton, I believe, or vice versa. Maybe when Grafton requests coal, it always comes from these mines. That might be actually the correct way. I'll check that. I'll check that and get back to you. Just 3 more. And then before we leave off for the end of this episode, it will be a good idea to check to see where our different locals got to. Did our Lehigh Valley GP9s reach Babcock? Did our S2s reach the refinery? Did our RS1s get to Juniata? And if that means the episode runs a little bit long, I'm okay with that this time. All right, this train is done. So, first of all, did our S2 reach the refinery? It looks like it did not. I wonder if it's just, what's it waiting for? There's nobody blocking the way. Let's see where our fertilizer got to. It's a nice way to take inventory at the end of the episode, isn't it? Okay, we did indeed. So why don't we just load 2 more. There's a lot of birds in this area. Let's get back to Jane. The MI2s in this area seem to be having trouble with the length. I think I need to lengthen this one. Either that or reset it somehow. Okay, and tram. Oh yeah, tram is stuck, but we knew that. We just saw that. We are in Babcock. Excellent. Now, is this a load while moving? I do not think so. Could be wrong. Oops. Going the wrong way. Okay, so I'm going to come back and set this one up to be a load while moving as well. And Tyler actually did reach Juniata distribution. And I don't exactly know which one is Juniata distribution. I believe it probably is this one on the end. Aha, it is. So you can see the 2 cars are actually unloading. So that's great news. And that means that all the trains have passed through that little bottleneck at Laurel. Continue schedule. Could have continued earlier, right? All right, and that is where we're going to leave it. A little bit over time for today, but if you joined us, hope you had a good time. I hope I'll see you again next time as we continue into day 2 of this playthrough of the legendary Pennsylvania and Berwind and Drybook and Esopus Valley layouts. So hope you enjoyed yourself, and check back next time.